What's going on, everybody? Welcome to After Prison Show. And today I want to share with you guys a crazy story that's in the news right now about a prison escape that just recently happened here in my state, good old Virginia. What's interesting about this prison escape is this is not your average prison escape at all. This actually involved two juveniles who were serving a lot of time. Football numbers at a juvenile prison. Now, first and foremost, I've never been to prison as a juvenile. For anybody who has and you're watching this video, please comment down below and let us know what your time at a juvenile prison was like. But from what I've heard, these juvenile prisons are definitely nowhere that you want to be. Absolute gladiator schools. And with the amount of time that the two guys who escaped in this story had, I can imagine wherever they were serving time at was most certainly just that. Straight up gladiator school. Straight Spartan. You had to be a Spartan up in there. Now, not only is this story interesting for the fact that it was two juveniles who escaped from prison, this prison where they escaped from, called Bon Air Juvenile Correctional Center, has not had a prison escape in over 20 years. It's been 2 decades since anybody had escaped from this prison up until, well, this most recent escape attempt. Not only is this story interesting for those facts right there, but there's a lot of other moving parts in this story that I think you guys are gonna find interesting as well. Why you gotta be riding a motorcycle down the street while I'm filming? Sorry about that. I'm a little jello that I don't have a motorcycle. Regardless, with all of that being mentioned, let's go ahead and dive. That was them cutting through that fence, putting a hole in that sucker so they could escape head first up into this video. Did I say the when I did the dive? I might have just messed that up right there. Let's start by introducing you guys to the two escapees who are still on the run at the current time of me filming this video, Thursday, July the 16th. How long do you think these guys are going to stay on the run for? And there's a $5,000 reward looking for these guys. And I'm telling you, they are most certainly looking for these dudes. These dudes didn't just walk off of a work detail. Their prison escape rivals that of anything that you've ever seen on a movie. Maybe that's where they got the idea from. But the two juveniles, I guess, actually, I think they're kind of grown. The two guys in question, and that's another thing that don't make no sense. How are these grown men still at this juvenile prison? We're going to get into all of that. The two escapees are known as this guy right here, Jabbar Taylor, 20 years old at a juvenile prison, and also Rashad Williams. He was only 18 years old. Both of these guys escaped early Monday morning after they had cut a hole through a security fence. And after I think they choked unconscious a staff member in an effort to be able to get that staff member's keys to be able to exit from the building. This is a crazy prison escape right here. The U.S. Marshal Service is offering a $5,000 reward for information leading to the arrest of both inmates. What if you've only got information about one of them or a little bit of partial information? Do you get part or half of the reward? Or do you have to have information on both of them to even be eligible for the $5,000 at all? Is it all or none, or can you get just a little piece of that? $5,000 is a lot of money too, especially during these trying times out here. You best believe if anybody see these dudes, they telling. Would you? If you knew where they were for $5,000, shit, me, where the phone at? The Virginia Department of Juvenile Justice says Jabbar Taylor, 20 years old, and Rashad E. Williams, 18, escaped early Monday after they had cut a hole through a security fence. Virginia State Police say 2 employees who worked at the Bon Air Juvenile Correctional Center had been charged with helping the 2 residents. They don't even call them prisoners. They call them residents at a juvenile facility. And 2 staff members have also just recently been arrested for what it seems like helping these 2 guys escape. Destiny Harris, 23 years old, of Chesapeake County, was arrested and charged Tuesday morning with 2 counts of aiding the escape of a juvenile. State police said Harris, a Virginia Department of Juvenile Justice employee who worked at the Bon Air facility, is being held at the Chesapeake County Jail. Damn, she was 23 years old and was working at this place. And the first guy, Jabbar Taylor, was 20 years old? I don't want to make any accusations, but, the pieces are starting to fit together a little bit. There could potentially have been some sort of a relationship between the two, whether it was the Jabbar individual or the Rashad guy. But regardless, if there was, in fact, there probably was, any type of a relationship taking place, this chick is sitting up in jail right now, 23 years old, was working at a prison, and now she might be on her way to one. That was kind of a bar right there, a little catchy. Okay, Joe. Here's a picture of Destiny Harris right here, 23 on the left. The other person in question is Darren Briggs, 42 years old. He was also an employee of this prison. And the reason why he was arrested, he was charged with one felony count of providing a cell phone to a prisoner. Banky just recently talked about why them cell phones is super contraband up in the prison. He had mentioned how they don't want you to be able to film the conditions taking place up inside of the prison, but a cell phone is also a major security threat because they can't monitor them calls. They don't know you got that phone. They don't know what phone calls you're making, and you could potentially be planning an escape that would rival that of anything you ever saw in Prison Break. I wonder what's going to happen to this Destiny chick and also to Darren Briggs. Do you think they're going to end up having to serve time? Maybe they're going to get off with just probation. That could be the case. But then again, we've seen people escape at Dannemora. The woman who helped them, she ended up having to go to prison. I think she had to do 7 years too. So there is the high likelihood that both of these individuals could be on their way to having to serve them a little bit of a bid. An investigation says the residents used a cord of undetermined origin to choke a security staff member who briefly lost consciousness. I mean, this was a violent escape at that. They then took the staff member's keys, which they used to exit the unit, and then escaped through a hole that had been cut in the facility's perimeter security fence. Then they boarded and left in a vehicle that appears to have been waiting for them. So obviously with that cell phone, they were able to put a fair amount of planning into this escape and have somebody on the outside waiting to pick them up. And again, they are still on the run. Now, I'm telling you, this story gets a hell of a lot deeper than anything that we've mentioned thus far. Like what these two young men were serving time for. We're not just talking about doing some juvenile life, which is, getting locked up at like 14, 15 years old and then getting released at 21. These dudes, again, were doing football numbers. Jabbar, 20 years old. He had a 50-year prison sentence for stabbing two men to death back in 2015. And Rashad Williams had a malicious wounding and robbery charge. It doesn't say how much time he was serving, but it does say they were both set to be transferred to an adult prison once they turned 21 years old. Now, that don't make any sense to me whatsoever. Because at 18 years old, you can go to adult jail. You can go to adult prison. So I don't understand why these guys had to sit in this juvenile facility until they were 21 years old before getting transferred to an adult prison. But going even further, this young man Jabbar, who had this 50-year prison sentence, he had just recently went back to court. I believe it was in like March or April. It was in one of those months I read where he went back to court trying to get a reconsideration. And when he went back to court, here's some even more crazy stuff to consider. He had all of these staff members from the juvenile correctional facility go to court testifying on his behalf as a character witness, saying that this guy was a model and a model and upstanding resident up inside of this juvenile correctional center. And crazy enough, even with these people who went to bat for him, he was not given any type of a reconsideration or a sentence modification at all. They asked the judge to take into consideration the fact that he was 15 years old when he committed these crimes, I think killing 2 people. And the judge says that when he originally sentenced him to these 50 years, this dude had a punter's number. The judge said that when he originally sentenced him to the 50 years, he did take into consideration his age then. So between the time of March and April, when, up until this point, this young man Jabbar had been this model and upstanding resident and inmate at this facility, all of that changed, or it seems to have, when he got denied on this sentence modification. And think about that. When you're locked up, no matter if you're a juvenile or adult, and you've got a boatload of time, There is not a lot to hope for. Maybe an appeal, maybe a reconsideration, a sentence modification, maybe some information that you might have just remembered about Lil Dookie staying out there or whoever. But when you exhaust all of those efforts, appeals denied, sentence modifications, reconsiderations not coming through, that hope goes out the window. There ain't no hope left because all you're left with is still that boatload of time that you've got to serve. So it seems to me, and I don't know for sure, but once this guy got denied on this reconsideration, that cell phone came in handy, that plan came together, and this past Monday, him and the other guy, Rashad Williams, put this plan in motion and are still currently out on the run. U.S. Marshals got a $5,000 reward on these guys. They choked a staff member who, and it doesn't even say or not, but it's crazy to think, what if the staff member was one of these people who went and spoke on this young man's behalf? If they went through the violent extremes to get out of prison, it's sad to say, but, I hate to think of what it's going to be like when the law does catch up with these dudes. Because the reality of the situation is anytime we hear about an escape, no matter what kind of escape it is, in most cases, it's probably like 99% of the time, you're going to get caught. And I've read quite a bit on this story that I'm sharing with you guys, so I think I've probably just shared pretty much the entirety of this. They say the last escape that happened at this Bon Air facility happened in 1988. We've been here since then. That was a whole bunch of young kids who escaped. They were running around the neighborhood from what I understand somebody had said. Many neighbors say they are worried about their safety, but some took solace in the belief that the men may not be in the area anymore. Yeah, I can pretty much go for that as well. They don't mention a whole lot in this about the Rashad Williams individual, 18 years old, but definitely spend a fair amount of time on the Jabbar guy, 20 years old, 50 years, 2 bodies. And with all of that, I just ask all of you, what do you think about this? This is crazy. How are these dudes, 18 and 20 years old, still serving time at this juvenile prison? If they were at the adult prison, would this have happened? It could have. That's for certain. Do you think that they're going to stay on the run? How long do you think it'll be before they get caught, if they do get caught? And with that, I don't want to make this video super long. I just wanted to share this crazy story with you guys, and I look forward to hearing what you got to say about this. I'll be curious to see how all of this turns out and what develops from this. And if we learn anything new, I'll make sure that I share that with you guys as well. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did so, please leave a like and a comment letting me know exactly what you thought about all of this. And as always, until next time, enjoy life, the free world, never take a moment for granted, and make the most of every day.